Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this month's Terrace Lodge Fundraising Committee. Very nice to see everyone. It's a nice typical fall day. This is a reminder, this is fall. And it also means that Christmas is coming. So that will be on our agenda for discussion this afternoon. So thank you so much for being here. So I'll officially call the meeting to order. And let's have a look at the agenda. Anything you'd like to add or modify? Don't see any comments or hear anyone. So can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as is?
Yeah.
Richard?
Yep.
Anne? All in favor? We'll have to do this one at a time to be official.
Yes. Kay Haynes. Jim Jenkins.
Yes.
Richard Casul.
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin.
Yes.
Councillor Jaguar.
Yes.
5-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Anyone for the agenda today? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item is our donation update, one of our favorite parts of the meeting. So Jennifer, over to you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'd just like to present the fundraising donations received to date, which is $6,953 since the last report to the committee. And there were no additional expenses. So the total donation towards the campaign is $200,470. In this year, you're recognizing $119,970 because 90,000 of that 200,000 is for future years. So those are pledges which can't be recognized in this year. So one of the other things that we are actively working on is that we found we did not have the ability to accept payment of pledges by cash or check once we received them. So most of those donations were expected to be by credit card. So we've additionally added this feature to the portal, and right now it's in testing. So as those pledges come in by cash or check, Dominique and I can test those behind the scenes and make sure that that's working. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, it's amazing how we're still running into first time for some of the technical aspects. So like the receiving a pledge by check was the first. So every time then that reveals if there's one technical component that's missing, and then Jennifer and the IT team have been great at responding and adding the features that we need as we discover them.
Yes.
So that's great. I'm figure at some point we'll run out of things we're in discover, but
More far between, so that's good.
but yeah, you're right. They're getting fewer and fewer. So I wanted to add, just to put those things in context. So first off, I know there was one question we received about what may seem like a discrepancy between, we've announced publicly that we've raised over $100,000, but we're also reporting over $200,000. And that's where the difference is, right? So there's an amount that's being pledged, but it's not received officially. So I think it's okay to report. We trust that our pledges will materialize, but to be fair, and they are pledges for future years. So I think it's good to report both what we have and that is anticipated for the entire campaign, but also what we have officially for this year. So, and I think the way we have the table set up makes it very clear. So thank you for that. And again, showing great progress at 58% now of this year's goal and 32% of the entire campaign. So, and I put on the agenda, I wanted to add, just so you can see and the public can see as well, what it looks like in terms of items, and we can start visualizing what those donations look like. So just before the meeting today, I circulated a list of items that you can see since, so the first chunk of the meeting, so I'm referring to the spreadsheet that was circulated just before the meeting, and you may have a paper copy with you if you're with us in the chambers. But we have separated the campaign in mini themes, and we were targeting specific items during each of those themes. So I wanted to give you an idea of specifically what that looks like. And you know also that donors have the option to designate their donation to a certain item or to give a general donation. And so what we've done for the general donation, we've assigned ourselves the money to items that we have targeted for that campaign. So I thought this would be a nice, like I said, almost like a visual of each mini campaign that we've had so far. And yeah, I feel you can really start seeing all of the items and where each item is in terms, like some of the ones where we needed 60 stackable chairs. Well, now we have enough money to buy all 60. So the courtyard is pretty much taken care of, all the ornaments, the barbecues, the benches, and so on. So that's really neat to see, okay, like this big piece is done. So we'll continue to have some flexibility in the event, for example, somebody really wanted to designate a donation to an item. If so far we've attached it to a general donation, we can always flip those around. Like so we have some flexibility, but for our own accounting and tracking, like what do we need to buy? What do we need to advertise and promote as the next items? I felt we will only know that if we've already sort of checked off all of the items from the catalog that have technically been purchased. So that's what this sheet is for, and I'll come back to it for the what I'm proposing for the Christmas campaign, which we've captured here. So this, like I said, gives you, as far as the financial report, a combination of the dollar figures through Jennifer, and then what that looks like relative to the catalog. And like I said, it's looking really good. We got all the fireplaces we need. We got all the benches we need. So that's been terrific. Comments or questions on that? And I realize we circulated that just before the meeting, so by all means, have a look, and it's something we can always revisit next meeting if you have any questions. To go. So can I have to receive and file the donation updates? Jim? And the seconder? Okay. And the vote.
Kay Haynes. Jim Jenkins. Richard Kisula.
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin.
Yes.
Councillor Jaguar.
Yes.
5-0, the motion is carried.
Great. So let me go back to item number 3, which I skipped. Totally missed. The adoption of the minutes from our September 27th. And do that. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Have a good afternoon.
Yes, thank you.
So the minutes from September 27th, they were circulated with your agenda package. Errors or omissions, corrections? Seeing none, because we have wonderful minute takers. Can I have a motion to adopt? Jim, in a seconder. Ruth Ann, and the vote.
Kay Haynes.
Yes.
Jim Jenkins.
Yes.
Richard Kisula.
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
5-0, the motion's carried.
Okay, now we're ready for item number 6. So this is what I wanted to chat with you about, the proposal for next theme. So at the last meeting, you may recall, we talked about doing a fall theme. So we were just wrapping up the lifelong learning and all of the more educational items. And I realized that we were within days of having to submit then the next campaign with the ads and the taglines to Elmer Express to, if we wanted to have a fall campaign. So that was not realistic. I certainly did not have time to squeeze in another campaign. And so in chatting with our colleagues at Elmer Express, who are always very useful and don't hesitate to give us guidance, they thought, in fact, it might be wise to just go quiet a little bit. And because there's lots going on between Thanksgiving and then Halloween and Remembrance Day, skip a few ads, like so skip the month. And after Remembrance Day, then kick off the Christmas campaign and do 6 ads. So we have a budget for 6 ads. So instead of doing them every other week and doing a fall campaign and a Christmas campaign, and we were kind of almost running out of items as well of how we, how we divide that up. I thought that was a good suggestion to do more of a blitz towards Christmas, sort of partnering or matching up Christmas giving and the holiday season with our next mini themes. So we would do 6 ads in a row from, and I can't remember the specific dates, but it basically leads up to December 21st. So I kind of had to make an executive decision on not going with the fall campaign, because I thought there was no time to even design, like find pictures and circulate among the committee members. And I thought it may not be a bad idea, because people get used to our ads too, right? So they start disappearing. So the idea is to just, like I said, right now, we're just kind of laying low after a really nice campaign with the fall. As you saw, we did manage to purchase almost everything, thanks to a big part, the Elmer Community Foundation gave us the boost. And so really, we're in the position to purchase a lot of the August, September items. So on that sheet that I circulated today, there's on the back of it, there is what would be our our Christmas campaign. So it shows the October to December. And this is a list of all the items that we could target. And what I was thinking is that, so there's sort of 3 big categories. There's the guest suite, which is very much needed and associated with, Christmas and family coming to visit and staying overnight, perhaps. There's the chapel in terms of Christmas celebration. So the chapel still needs a few more items. And then there's the lounge and the lobby furniture, which is also, to me, about the, having visitors and having a comfortable space to be with your family, and the dining room as well. We still need a dining room set, because I believe there's going to be a dining area that you can book and have family dinners or celebrations. So we could target all of those items. I think they kind of all connect to Christmas celebrations. So we can do a campaign and do a series of ads where we promote, the guest suite one week, and then the chapel and family gatherings. And it does get us, so the total of all those items is around 100,000, which would get us to our target by the end of the year, which was our 225 target. And because we're already towards the end of October, we already have received donations in October, so we already have almost $7,000 towards that 100,000 target. What are your thoughts on that? Like I said, a bit of a blitz, very sort of family Christmas oriented, and this may be the time to, and in closed sessions, we can talk about specific donor strategy, but in terms of, there could be businesses who, where some of these items may appeal to some of our local businesses or, and as we'll talk about later also, the whole notion of donations as gifts. I think we're ready to set that up, and some of these items may appeal for that kind of giving as well. How does that sound? I can feel the excitement in the air.
Be nice if we could get in there.
No, I know. So the idea is that because we have quite a few, as you can tell from that whole sheet, we have so many items that are sold out. And the idea is, with Catherine's assistance, we would refresh the entire website right now and just do the Christmas items, because there are quite a few. So there could be, that's instead of right now on the website, as you may recall, we have a category from, $50 to $500, 500 to 1,000. So instead of that, we'll replace with, here's the chapel. You want to donate something for the chapel, and then when you click on that, you see all of the items for the chapel. Here's the guest suite. When you click on the guest suite, then you'll see different items at different prices. So it'll be more by the 4 different rooms. Here's the lobby and the lounge, and here's the dining room. And so that way we will remove, like, some of the items will already show as sold. The fireplace for the main lobby, which I think is good to show that, a few items are already sold. And, but most of them would not be, so then, because we want to avoid any confusion, like we've had a donation recently towards a bench, even though it's clearly says sold out, the system doesn't really prevent you from, typing in, I want to designate this to a bench. So this would allow us to do a refresh of the entire catalog with the goal of doing a brand new full catalog for 2022. This is kind of an interim step, because I think it's too early to decide all the items. It would be nice to just finish the year. And then in January, we do the final inventory of everything that's been purchased and donated. And then in January, we launched a 2022 catalog with a longer list of items.
I think that would work much better,
Okay,
having each area individually,
nice.
rather than the dollar value just taken, okay, designate to the chapel.
Yeah.
Or to the lounge or whatever.
Yep,
Gives people more of an idea of what we're looking for.
yeah, yeah. So it'll be more groupings, which I found that through the mini themes that we had, like when in the spring, when we focused on the courtyard and then we focused on learning items, that's easy to set up, right? So we can continue. Okay. So everybody would be in favor of that approach. So that means, so on Catherine's side, so a refresh. So we pretty much have the list set up. And so if we're missing a few pictures and stuff, so some work for Catherine on the website. And then what I can do is draft the tagline for the ad. So we need 6 ads, 6 weeks in a row. So I'm happy to work on that. And with Tanya for pictures. So sometimes either picture of the item or picture of people. And as we said in previous meetings, we want real pictures as much as possible. So that's the other idea, because the first ad would be November 17th. So that gives us, it's amazing how quickly time passes, right? So that gives us, I think, just enough time to have that all set up and ready to go for November 17th. And like I said, we don't want to overlap with other celebrations, like Remembrance Day is very important, and we don't want to overlap with that, but after we're the coast will be clear to the Christmas push. Questions, comments? Do we need a motion for that item, you think,
We could do one.
as an endorsement? So can I have a motion to endorse the Christmas and advertising strategy? Okay, the seconder? Richard? Any other comments or questions about this approach? Tanya, does that work for you as well? I know it involves you. Excellent. So let's call the vote then.
Kay Haynes,
Yes.
Tim Jenkins.
Yes.
Richard Kisul,
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin,
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
5-0, the motion is carried.
All right, so we'll get moving on that ASAP. Donor recognition, so if you've noticed, so we've had, what, maybe 2 photos in October that we took? And so those continue, they continue to be featured in Elmer Express and on social media. And we also took the last ad that we had for the, towards the end of the fall campaign or September campaign. We also listed all of the donors from August and September directly in the paper as a bit of a change up from photos. Well, I think we did both. We had a photo, one of our residents was a great photo, and a list of donors. So that's what's happening on the recognition side. I know I'm a little bit behind on thank you cards, but I will catch up with that. And I mean, those are not as time sensitive. So a lot of people often remember their donations, particularly at the end of the year when it's time to also get the receipt, make sure they have a receipt for their donation. So, but the cards are still going out, so. Any questions or comments? Jim?
Yes, talking about recognition, we had talked about donor recognition, social media, et cetera. I'm wondering, and as you know, I volunteer at the hospital in St. Thomas, and on the wall there, they have printed as plastic, but it's recognition of various donors towards the hospital.
Yeah.
And I think in the long term, that's something we definitely should consider.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I talked to earlier in this, I think early last summer, I talked to sign people who
Yeah.
are in the business just outside of Belmont, and the cost was not that excessive.
No. Yeah. Yeah, and I think, yes, Rita.
The hospital, when you donate to the hospital, I think it's twice a year that they send out a sheet of paper, and it's all with all the donors, like from 0 to 500 and then 1,000 up to so many hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
I think that would be a nice gesture that we could do after our campaign is all done and over with, is to send that out to all the donors that have donated over the period of our 3 years.
Yeah. I was even thinking, and yeah, so I just got mine in the mail from the hospital just last week, I guess. I saw that feature, and I was thinking, because we will be doing an annual report in early January, and I thought as part of that first year, I think we could look at publishing the entire list of donors. We can have another debate around the
Given us
yes, who've given us consent, of course. So, assuming the hospital has the same setup, so you do agree to your name being published, or you can decline your name being published. But I was thinking, in addition to, at the very end, definitely having a full list, as well as something that will feature all the donors at the lodge. I thought we could include it at the end of year 1. We'll do a sort of an interim report on the campaign. Here's the year 1 results, total amounts, list of donate, and then send it to the donors. So we can look at the cost of that. I think it might be worthwhile because it's a way of staying engaged. I think donors who have donated in year 1 may consider a second donation the following year for a different item. So I think it's a way of showing that accountability and thank you. So here's our report, here's our progress report. And then invite them to stay in touch and maybe donate again.
The only thing, if you put the list up at the home, there'd be a lot of our donors don't go to the home to see that list.
Right. No, and I'm thinking at the home, that would be at the very end, like the wall that like Jim was describing, some sort of feature, which I think at a previous meeting, we agreed we will do something. And I think the idea is to wait right till the end to see what do we have, how many names, what the design look like, but that's definitely the plan. But this, I'm thinking more of like a printed, similar to what the hospital did, and we can mail it out to donors as a thank you, again, accountability, transparency, and continued engagement. So yes, I agree, let's do that. And it will be a really good report. I mean, sometimes you look at all the pictures and tallying all the lists and looking at the numbers, like, we've done a lot. This first year has been, very active and successful. I mean, and considering that we still, for most of the year, we have not been able to meet in person and go to events and raise awareness. So I think that's pretty amazing. So as part of the recognition, we can incorporate the annual report. And okay, if everybody's in favor of that, we'll move in that direction. Ready to go to fundraising strategies on the next item. So more good news, the legacy giving brochure. So Elmer Express has agreed to do the design. You remember we did a mock-up to give them an idea of what we were looking for. And so I got the green light that they will do a proper professional design. And so we'll get to review a draft and then they'll print. I told them we didn't need a huge number because we're gonna put them in just a few locations. So I thought that's great news that as you know, we've exceeded the initial donation, the value of the donation and the $10,000 donation that the Elmer Express contributed to the campaign and with all of their services. But they've been very keen and interested in helping us out. And to that end, you also will recall that they had agreed to do our poster in Low German. So I have them physically with me today. So also grateful to the Elmer Express to, again, that was above and beyond. So if you need any, we can discuss who we should and where we should distribute the Low German version of the poster. So at the home for sure, but in closed session, we can also talk about more specifics. So lots of good news there. Refresh the website and the online catalog, actually it should say November 17th. We've already talked about. So item B is the next item I'd like to discuss. So, and I think you received another handout just a few minutes ago. Everything is hot off the press. So we had talked about, I think even last year before Christmas, we talked about wanting to have a feature where you can give a donation as a gift on behalf of someone else. So we had said last year, because we were launching, we had a lot to do and figure out, we would get organized first and then add this as a feature. So I think we're ready to do that. And I wanted to walk through what that looks like with you and get your feedback. So on the handout that you have, and I wonder, I did not email it to you. Sorry, I'm just thinking of Richard and Tanya. You don't have the handout we're looking at in front of you. This will be a good test. This should be straightforward. So you should not need the handout to make sense of what we'll go through.
I can circulate after.
And we'll circulate it after, for sure. So the idea is that on the donor side, what you get is the same form, whether on paper, we'll have to modify the paper form, but online, same as what we have now, but there will be a new option that allows you to determine if this is a gift. This donation is a gift. So if you click on yes, like I want this donation to be a gift, you then also get the option to decide, because there will be a greeting card that will be issued. So do you want to receive the greeting card yourself? And then you will put it under the tree and, give it to the person? Or do you want the greeting card to be sent directly to the recipient? So then you indicate that. So either way, a greeting card will be produced. If you select that you want the greeting card to be sent directly to the recipient, there will be another box that allows you to enter the name and address of the recipient of this gift. How am I doing for clarity? You following this? So you get an option. So either I'm the donor, or this is a gift, yes or no. If it's yes, then, okay, do you want to receive the card yourself, or do you want us to send it for you? Right? So that's the process, and that's what it looks like on the donor side. So for us, what that means is anytime someone selects this is a gift, we need to issue a card. So we need to send the greeting card. Either we send it to the donor or we send it to the recipient. Either way, we're going to need 1 or 2 elves who will physically put a card together, write the address, and put it in the mail. And as you can imagine, because it's Christmas, as most people will want this before Christmas, it's not something that we can sort of wait to the end and do all the mailing at once. What I foresee is the need to regularly check the reports, and between Catherine and Jenna, and they can monitor the system. And anytime someone has selected a gift, then we issue the card. So keep that in mind. I'll keep going, but note that I said we need to recruit 1 or 2 elves to mail the cards. I'm thinking maybe twice a week, because it will get, so this is for a period, at least up until Christmas, and then we can revisit how we want to do this and who's the volunteer who will continue this feature. Jim?
What, at the residents at Terrace Lodge, are there some residents there with the ability to do something like that feel that they're achieving something by being part of doing that? I don't know.
That's a good question. Maybe I'm looking at Tanya.
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask the recreation staff to see if there might be a group they could do it together, like as maybe the resident council, or maybe through that group. That would be my thought. I don't know a specific person at this time, but definitely with the assistance of the recreation team.
I'm not trying to pressure anybody. I just thought that.
Yeah, I think it's a nice
to be
thought.
involved.
Yeah, and it's nice for them to feel part of what's happening, and the.
I agree.
I think that it's a nice connection. I do.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, even if one of the committee members here go in,
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be all the same person every time.
right.
Split it up for, okay, I go in 1 week, Kay goes in another week, Jim goes in another week.
Yep. Yeah, and we would make the process very straightforward, because really what you're stuffing a card into an envelope, writing the address, putting the stamp on it, and mailing it out. And so we could make it very systematic, sort of 4-step, instructions. And I think that could be really neat.
Or someone could make the address labels
Yep,
and print them on and just stick it on the envelope.
neat. Okay, so Tanya, you think that's something that's
Yeah.
feasible?
I do. Yep.
Cool. I like that. Thank you, Jim. Great idea. So what so other than the elves, so what needs to happen? So again, talking to Elmer Express, they've agreed to design and print a different card because we want it to look different than our thank you card. So still with the same logo and sort of color scheme. Their suggestion is to make it generic and not necessarily specific to Christmas, because this is a feature that we can use throughout the year for birthdays and for other holidays. So their suggestion was, and we can give our elves like stickers, or like you can decorate the envelope and even the card to make it more Christmassy. But then later in the year, maybe it's related to Valentine's or it's related to, so the card itself, I think it would be wise to keep it non-specific to a holiday. And that way it can be used anytime during the year. Because once that feature is going to be set up on the website, there's no reason to take it down. And like I said, for birthday gifts or any other holidays. So, we'll need to work on the wording a little bit. So the idea is, so Elmer Express said, yeah, we could probably print like an initial batch of 250 and do the design. They'll reuse what they already have. So they'll make some adjustments to make it look more like a greeting card. And we can customize with stickers for the different seasons or holidays. And essentially, the card on the cover could say something like, the gift of comfort. And inside, a gift towards comforts of home campaign has been made in your name. You are making a difference in the lives of Terrace Lodge residents. So again, like fairly generic, which then if you want to do it yourself, if you're the donor, you can always add, your own note. But if not, it could go as is, and then somebody can sign it on behalf of the committee and just add a little thank you and send it directly to the recipient and put Merry Christmas, thank you. And we'll put at the back of the card, we'll put a link to the campaign, because what's neat about this opportunity is that the recipient may not have known about the fundraising campaign because the donor came, from somewhere else. So want to use the back of the card to actually promote the campaign. So if you want to know more about the Terrace Lodge campaign, go to this website or contact. So it becomes a bit of a promotional piece as well, just discreetly at the back. Thoughts on that? Think that could work? Is that what you had in mind? Like I said, I remember this something we talked about very, very early on that we wanted as a feature. We just needed a bit more time to get organized. That would work. It's worth a try.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll follow up again, because this will happen over the next couple of weeks. Watch your email, because I do want to, like anything that we send out, like the ads or the cards, I love your feedback. Like we need the committee's input so I'll send you a mock-up and say, this is the draft designed by Elmer Express. Any comments and feedback, because you always have, sometimes you catch different, edits or suggestions, and I think that's always very useful. But we do need to do all that before our next meeting. So if that's okay, we'll do that by email. That's exciting. See, we keep adding features. We're going to be such professional fundraisers by the end of 3 years. We'll have to be careful.
Yes.
We're going to be recruited maybe by other organizations. Be prepared. Put that on your resume. Professional fundraiser.
Yeah.
Excellent. Just a few notes. I know that, so I sought the advice of our consultants who are still kind of on the side cheering us on. So Sarah and Laurel, so from their experience, they want to remind us that timeliness is key. So we just have the people, when they make a donation, we have to count that it has to go in the mail. And you know, at Christmas, Canada Post is very busy, and I think people will want their cards or their gift before Christmas. So that will be a little bit of a blitz. So we might get busy at Terrace Lodge with the residents. So it may be towards the end, maybe more than once a week. Like the last 2 weeks might be a little bit of a blitz. So if everybody's game for it, I think we can make it happen. But just keep that in mind. Sometimes you may get the question about the receipt and say, well, can I give the tax credit to the recipient as well? And you can't. And I'm sure Richard can vouch for that, but do you know what I mean? Like sometimes you want to give on behalf of someone, but you also want to give them the benefit of a tax receipt, but that's not transferable. So if the money is coming out of your bank account, you will, so if I give a donation, even if it's, you know, as a gift to Kay, the receipts for CRA will be in my name, and that's non-transferable. But you may get that question. And they are reminding us just to watch, especially in early January, or some checks may be dated into December. But technically, and Richard, you can confirm that as well, if the actual check is not received in 2021, we can't issue a tax receipt for 2021. So, yeah. So even if the date on it says, you know, December 20th, if it doesn't get into your hands, so it will be really important if in December, if you do receive checks, if you can, you know, write down, or I'm assuming at the county or at Terrace Lodge, at the counter, at the reception, if you have a stamp that will show exactly the date that you got your hands on the check, regardless of the date that it says on the check, do you know what I mean? So that will be important, and that becomes critical more in December, in January. Okay? So we'll keep track of that. The other thing they've experienced is sometimes a donor may ask us, so let's say they want to donate $100, but they want to send 5 cards. So they actually want to give 5 gifts. So let's say they have 5 grandchildren, and they say, my donation is $100, but I actually want 1 card to go to Kay, 1 card to go to Ruth Ann, 1 card to go to Jim, at, you know, $20 a piece. And they said they didn't have like a specific threshold. Like it's hard to police and say, it gets complicated to say, you can only donate for a minimum. It becomes difficult to monitor, but they said, just watch, make sure that people are being reasonable, that, so for example, they shared an example where, you know, somebody may have given $100, but they wanted 20 cards to be sent out, you know, at sort of $5 a piece. And then, because now you have to count the time and the cost of the card and the stamp, and it's like, so don't put any extra rules on the website because it gets too complicated, and perhaps we won't run into that. But they were sharing their experience with me, and they said, sometimes just get in touch with the donor and to say, look, we don't have the means to send multiple cards so I think our rule of thumb should be to 1 donation, 1 card, regardless of the amount. But let's be flexible. If it's a $5,000 donation, maybe we'll consider multiple cards. So we'll use our judgment, but I thought it was good to know that this could come up. So now we can always connect as a committee. It's like, oh, I've got this request, or there's somebody put this and in the box, and so what do we do? And we can do it case by case, I think. It's always nice to learn from other people's experience. I know it's new to me, so. All right, well, like I said, this is super exciting to have that extra feature. And I'm also thinking of donors donors have donated already this year. This is a way to engage them as well, because they might have donated, with one specific purpose in mind, but now with Christmas, like, oh, well, this actually is another way this is a good type of gifts that I would be comfortable giving. So don't hesitate. Like this feature, I think, allows us to also tap on the shoulder of people who have already donated, because it's a completely different feature. So I think it's a great opportunity. So thank you for being willing to make it work. And like I said, watch your email for mock-ups and approval of different drafts. Moving right along, at the last meeting, there was a discussion around bench dimensions, so that if we wanted to look into the project, perhaps in partnership with high school. So I wasn't sure, maybe Tanya or Michelle, if you had a chance to even look into that. I think we're going to talk to the architects and any thoughts on that or any further info for now, or?
I didn't know if is Michelle in the meeting?
No, she's
No.
not.
I did see an email, and it was from the architects. I think she doubled back, and I think they'd sent something and then she double checked.
Okay.
And I did see the bench. They had an example of a bench and an example of the, shade structure. It was very nice. So I believe she did get an update. I did see the email.
Okay.
I can pull it up. I know she did see it. Just looking.
We can always circulate it, and we don't want to put you on the spot. And because I think, Ruth Ann, you wanted to follow up specifically with the school, right? And just if we have a better idea of what we're looking for.
It doesn't have to be today.
Okay. Excellent. So thank you, Tanya and Michelle, for following up on that, and we can keep that.
Here I'm looking at it. She had an example, and it was from Limestone Trails. And it had a supply and install price. And that was for the structure. I'm sorry that you can't see it. And then they had the bench was from Barco Products. So I believe the bench here did you want the pricing for it, or are you just looking for an example? No.
Yeah.
So it was from so she had a link to Barco Products, and then she had the link to the shade structure, which was from Limestone Trails, was what their examples were, I think, based on what they'd kind of put out. So
okay, great. So we'll circulate that, and if additional information is needed, then we can always go back and forth. The other thing I was thinking for project, if for some reason this doesn't work out, I noticed on our list is there's a shed also I'm assuming for the courtyard. And I wondered if not the shades, if the shed is also a project that, so to give them options. And so of course that triggered the thought, so do we have any specs on the shed, Tanya? If that could, again, there's no rush on that, but I suspect that with the design, the architects probably already have what size is they're looking for and where or which materials. So if we could also, like I said, that's not as urgent, but I thought maybe to give the school or other partners options would be useful. And yeah, building a shed as a community project too could work out well. Okay, so we'll circulate that. Thank you. The other request was also to update the letter that we can use as committee members when approaching different donors. So Catherine did that. I'm just going to have a look. I know it's been super busy time, so I'm going to have a quick look, and I'm sure it's just fine, and then we'll circulate it. And so the updated letter will reflect that this is not a brand new campaign, so we'll be able to show, some amounts that we've already received and some items that were already donated. So I think so we'll circulate that, and by all means, you can always edit it. It will be a Word document, but also if you have any suggestions on the letter. So I think that was a good idea from this group at the last meeting. So this will be ready to go this week. And thank you, Catherine, for that. Our next item, so I just wanted to plant the seed in terms of committee member recruitment. So Catherine and I had a quick meeting before this meeting to sort of plan how we could proceed in terms of transitioning from year 1 to year 2. And what we thought is to, in early January, after the official year 1 is over, we have numbers, and my suggestion would be, and we have to report to council. We have to do an official report to council. And there's always an opportunity to bring recommendations to council as well. If we want to change our terms of reference, for example, if we want to change targets. So to me, so if you agree, I would say, let's wait until very early January when we have all of our numbers from 2021. And then we can also use that meeting and conversation to reflect how we're working as a committee, what works well, what doesn't work well, if anything, what we're looking for the next year, and what does that mean? Like, do we need new committee members? What would be the profile? And then we could develop a fact sheet to say, here's who we're looking for, and then maybe clarify what is the time commitment, because sometimes, like, even if we send out a broad letter, people might hesitate to join the committee thinking maybe it's too much work, or maybe I can't do this, so we would kind of use January as a whole sort of refresh of if there's any changes needed on the terms of reference, any changes needed on the committee, if we want to recruit additional members. Also, and I think I don't think you've signed a for life, member for life letter for this committee. So it's perfectly understandable if some members want to step down and then we want to recruit additional members. I think all of that should be on the table, and use January to reflect. And if you want to move forward for another year, sort of we can all renew our commitment and say, okay, so completed year 1, what did we learn? And what do we want for 2022? Do we need to make any recommendations to council, write the report and take that to council and be ready to go basically by February? What are your thoughts on that? Like, sort of not trying to do that now. I think there's too much going on now. I think I'd like to focus on a successful Christmas campaign. And then after it's all done, kind of catch our breath in January and reflect. What do you think?
Good idea.
Richard, yeah, okay. And Jim?
I thought Richard was speaking.
I think that was it. That was a good idea.
Yeah, I can think of my particular area, like I'm basically the only person south of Elmer, with the exception of Fiona, who now lives in Port Stanley. So
Yeah.
I think that area could use another person. Just along that line, I know a couple of the posters I put up that we were given have been taken down. One was in a business and one was
Yeah.
the big postcard, or the big part of the Belmont Mall where they have them. And so,
Yeah.
I'm disappointed to see that. But
Yeah, and sometimes, and a lot of businesses have whether it's a written policy or not, where it's up for a certain number of days and then they take it down, and which I think is not a bad thing, because also it becomes part of the scenery and you don't notice it anymore, and then, but it doesn't hurt to go back later on, and again, when we'll have a fresh catalog, and it could, maybe you could ask the business to put it back up again. But, so if you're in agreement with that approach, I think we'll do a November meeting to sort of, because that will be just kind of at the beginning of the Christmas campaign, but just to see if everybody's clear and everybody got what they need for the Christmas campaign. And then in January, we'll do a full sort of year in review and planning for 2022. That sound like a plan?
Dominic, did anyone inquire with Fiona and Peter about changing our times of our meetings? Would they be able to attend in the evening rather than during the day?
We did inquire, like this meeting, I think was an attempt to reach out, like to make it more accessible to committee members. But I think it's still difficult, I think, for some committee members to be available it sounds like at any time, because now we couldn't offer the evening for today because Central Elgins is meeting in this room. So perhaps that would have helped perhaps for Pete. But yeah, I think when we do the year in review, that would be part of the discussion, like how do we make it work? And
Because I'm thinking Fiona is working and Peter is working. They don't have a chance to participate. If we were to maybe move it to an evening meeting that they could
yeah,
attend.
yeah, and then we could look at the Central Elgin schedule and ensure the council schedule, and then ensure that if we do it, let's say Monday evening, but it's not, obviously not the same Monday. So it could be that evening is the solution. Yeah. So maybe we'll give that a try even for November. We'll look at dates, even if that means we can change our pattern a little bit, like we have done in the past. And even if that means showing up at the wrong time or the wrong day, right? So, yeah, and so thank you for mentioning that. And I know we said that last time and we moved it to the afternoon. But let's try it again. We'll try. We'll keep trying to.
I was going to say if we had it the third Monday of every month. Because I'm thinking that's what we started out with.
Right. Yeah, and we had good attendance. Yeah.
I think we had a holiday or two that maybe.
Right, and then the holidays, and then we went all virtual for many months. Yeah. So, okay, so when we come back, we'll move into close in a moment. When we come back, maybe we'll look at the specific dates, but definitely we could, in January, we could take sort of a longer view and try to establish a pattern. Because at that point, like most council will have published their meeting dates, and then we could have and not to say that it can't be adjusted, especially if we recruit new members who may have different preferences, and so we'll continue to work it out. We're adaptable, right? We've demonstrated that for sure. Okay, so if you're okay with that overall approach, I suggest we move into closed session. So if I can have a mover and seconder to move to closed session to look at our donor outreach update. Jim? And a seconder? Oh, okay. And the vote?
Kay Haynes.
Yes.
Jim Jenkins.
Yes.
Richard Sewell.
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
5-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you, and we're back out of closed session. So could I have a motion to rise and report? Jim, Richard as a seconder, and the vote, please?
Kay Haynes.
Yes.
Jim Jenkins.
Yes.
Richard Sewell.
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
5-0, the motion is carried.
Excellent, thank you. And could I have Mover and seconder to receive and file the donor outreach update. Ruth Ann? Okay. Sure. Vote please.
There's all three of us.
Kay Haynes,
Yes.
Jim Jenkins,
Yes.
Richard Cassillo,
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin. Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
5-0, the motion is carried.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up by looking at potential dates for our next meeting. And we're going to try an evening. See if we can make it as accessible as possible. So what would that look like?
Third is November 15th, is the third Monday of the month.
All right. Huh. Is that too soon? Or do we know the Central Elgin?
They are the second and fourth Mondays.
Those are the days you don't call your son.
So that means the 8th and 22nd would be taken. So an option for us, so the 1st, the 15th, or the 29th. So keeping in mind, we're gonna kick off the Christmas campaign on the 17th. So do you want to meet just 2 days before that kickoff, or do you want to meet a week and a half when we're sort of in the middle of it? What do you think makes most sense?
Probably the first, probably
Yeah, the
would,
first of the,
Well, the
or the 15th, so just before kickoff, right? So then we can see if we've got everything lined up, the new website, the gift cards, nice.
Is that gonna be too much for you to change your website or your,
No, I'll get it done.
They always say, ask,
right?
when it's done, ask the busiest person, right?
yeah, that's
The
right.
way it goes.
Okay, so let's tentatively, we'll confirm with the other committee members, but we'll aim for the 15th, so November 15th at 7 PM. Is that what we've done in the past? 7? Is that a convenient time?
We had a night,
It will be dark anyway, no matter what.
It doesn't matter.
Anytime after 5, I think by then is. Okay, so if that's it then, thank you for excellent meeting. We had lots to catch up on, so we'll do a motion to adjourn. I know you don't want to leave this meeting, I know, but I do need a mover and a seconder. Adjourn. Okay, and Jim, and the vote.
Kay Haynes,
yes.
Jim Jenkins.
No.
Richard Cassillo,
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin,
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
5-0, the motion is carried.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for your availability. And thank you, Richard.
Welcome.
Okay, and we'll see you next